Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden. Happy New Year. One of my favorite gardening quotes is that the gardening season ends December 31st and the new season begins January 1st. So happy new season of gardening. I'm super excited about this upcoming year. I have lots of fun things planned in my garden and I hope you have a lot of fun things planned for your gardens as well. So for the 1st of January, the first day of January, I thought a very appropriate video would be a video on things that you can get done in the garden in January. January is obviously the dead of winter for us in the Northern Hemisphere. There's not a lot of stuff going on, but there are still some really important things to get done in your garden in January, especially if you live in a mild climate like I do, where we don't get snow. If you do get snow, you're probably going to be doing more things indoors, but there's still plenty of things like seed starting or ordering summer bulbs or different things like that that you can do. But for those of us who have milder climates, we kind of got a lot of stuff to do in January that you don't really think about. And it's just, hopefully this is just a good reminder for all of you all to get out into your garden and to get this stuff done. Now, I do want to say, stay tuned for the end of the video after I'm done with my January gardening task checklist, because I came across some really interesting photos of my property, not from the last people who lived here, but from the people who lived here before them. It answers quite a lot of questions that I've had about this property. But first, I want to go over gardening tasks to get done in January. So the first task that I am getting done in January in my garden is pruning my deciduous fruit trees. So I have two main deciduous fruit trees that I need to prune, and that is my apricot tree and my pomegranate tree. I also have a fig tree, but that was already pruned for myself, or pruned for me by arborists in late summer, early fall, so I don't have to worry about that one. But that would be another one that would be good to prune in January. So once your deciduous fruit trees, really your deciduous ornamental trees too, once they lose all their leaves, they are basically in dormancy. They're asleep. So now is a great time to prune those trees and get them shaped the way that you want them. And I am planning to film a video on pruning my apricot tree and my pomegranate tree later this week. So let's all cross our fingers that that goes well. But I just wanted to get that on kind of on your task list, is that if you have any deciduous fruit trees or ornamental trees, you should start thinking about pruning them this month. Now, on that note, another task that I want you to think about doing for January is spraying dormant oil. And so what dormant oil is it's a spray that you spray on the branches of your fruit trees or your ornamental trees, whatever trees that you're having issues with. And that dormant oil can basically kill, it basically suffocates overwintering bugs or funguses or diseases or anything like that. If you have peaches or nectarines, now is the time to spray for peach leaf curl, because you need to spray for it before you see it, because at that point it's too late. So you can start thinking about it in January, maybe start thinking about it in February. There's different applications, there's different timings of applications. Some people will say a three-pronged approach. You do it in November, you do it in January, and you do it in early March. Some people say a two approach, where you do it in Thanksgiving and you do it around Valentine's Day. Kind of just check with your local garden center and see what they recommend. But if you had any type of diseases on your deciduous fruit trees or ornamental trees last year, think about spraying dormant spray in January, because now is the time to do it. So in January, my garden centers around here get kind of crazy because they were completely empty after getting rid of all their live Christmas trees and poinsettias and everything like that. And then they start bringing in the bare roots, and it's quite chaotic, because the whole garden center basically fills with these pots of sticks with beautiful pictures of roses on them or berries on them or fruit on them. But the reason why the garden centers are filled with bare roots at this time is because now is the time to plant your bare roots. It's the same thing as pruning or spraying dormant oil. Your roses or your fruit trees or your berries are dormant. And so now is a perfect time to purchase your bare roots, your bare root roses, your bare root berries, and get them in the ground. And I've talked a lot on this channel about how bare root is better. It's better if you are planning to plant a rose bush this year. It is 100 times better to go out and purchase a bare root of the same variety instead of waiting for it to flesh out and waiting for it to have blooms on it and buying an actual plant. And there's a number of reasons why it's better. One, the root system is always better on a bare root plant, but two, you plant it now. You plant it in the winter and it allows the plant to wake up where it lives. And so it's just going to be that much happier and it's going to grow that much better. So it is bare root season right now. So really think about, do you want any roses? Do you want any berries? Do you want any fruit trees? It is the time to think about it. Head to the garden center because bare roots, they sell out quickly. And I found that it's better if you actually call your garden center and say, hey, I really want that bare root Eden climbing rose. Can you put my name on one? And that way they can save it for you and you know that it's going to be there. But the bare roots are going into the garden centers now. If you're going to want them for 2025, get your hands on them and get them in the ground now. So speaking of roses, if you already have roses in your garden, January, at least for me where I live, January I think of as rose month. January is the month that I want to do all my pruning, all my defoliating, all my spraying, whatever it is I need to take care of for my roses. January is the month to do it. If you live in zone 8, February is probably the month for you. Zones 5 through 7, it's probably March, first day of spring-ish. But it's good to start thinking about it right now. So for me in zone 9, January is when I am going to defoliate all my roses. And what that means is if I have any of my roses that still have leaves on them, it means that it hasn't gotten cold enough for them to go to sleep, to go dormant. And so we have to kind of help them out a little bit. And so what we have to do is we have to go out there and we have to take off all of the foliage on the roses. And that's going to coax them into dormancy, which is what you want for those roses. You want to give them some time to sleep. Once you have all of the foliage off, then you can kind of see where is a good place to prune your roses. And so now is a good time to prune your roses. Again, if you're in zone 8, think about February, and then 5 through 7, think about March or even April. But for me, January absolutely is pruning roses. And then if I had any really serious issues with my roses last year, now's another good time, like I said, for dormant oil spray. So I have been so on top of it with my bulbs this year. I've been really, really proud of myself. I planted a lot of bulbs this year and they are all in the ground, 100% of them. And so I don't have to worry about it. But if you are like me in previous years and have not gotten around to planting all your bulbs, for those of you who live in mild climates, just think the second week of January is your cutoff point. You really want to get all of your bulbs in the ground by the second week of January. So I can say almost every year that I've been gardening, I have been planting bulbs in early January. I've even done it past the second week of January and they bloom completely fine. So just kind of think of that. But I always think to myself, second week of January, get all of your bulbs in. Really, really important to get them time to settle into the ground before they start blooming in March. And on the note of bulbs, I know we're in the dead of winter. What are we doing? But we know how quickly bulbs sell out. Now is the time to start thinking about your summer blooming bulbs. Like your dahlias, like your gladiolas, like your lilies. Now's the time to purchase them, you guys. So they will sell out, especially the really good varieties will sell out very, very quickly. So now's the time to start looking at them online, get your name on the list, purchase them if you can. They're not going to send them to you at this point, but you are going to get your names on those bulbs. And so then when they're ready to send to you, they will have your name on it so that they can get to you. So start thinking about your summer blooming bulbs right now. Okay, and then the last thing that I have on my January task list is to start seeds. That is why my seed starting shelf is completely empty, because it is just waiting for seed trays. I have big plans for starting seeds this year. I am trying a whole bunch of different ones, different perennials, different ground covers. I'm really excited about it this year. It should be really interesting. But January is probably my biggest seed starting month. You have to check your last frost date, see when your last frost is, because that's usually when you can plant a lot of seeds out. But if you go for the cool flower method, you can even plant seeds out even before your last frost date. So kind of check into it, see what timing works for you, and start planning your seed starting schedule. For me, for January, oh my gosh, I have so many. I have foxgloves, snapdragons, Dusty Miller, cup and saucer vine, purple bell vine, Verbena bonariensis, Irish moss, butterfly weed, Santolina, obedient plant. I'm trying obedient plant this year. There's so many that I'm trying this year, and I'm really excited about it because they're all really interesting, different ones that I've never tried before. So January is a huge seed starting month for me. Hopefully it is for you. I always feel bad, and I always like to remind people a whole bunch of times, like, now, start thinking about your seeds now, start thinking about your seeds now, because for those of us who wait until like March or April to start thinking about gardening, that's too late. You're past the point. You're too late for starting a lot of your cool season flowers. So start thinking about it now, and then early on in your spring season, you should have beautiful blooms in your garden. So do me a favor and leave a comment down below of any gardening tasks that I missed or things that you're doing in your garden in January, just so that we all can read it and we all can be reminded of things that we need to get done in our garden, even in the low season, the downtime of year. But like I said, the garden season has started as of today. All right, everyone. So now I have something really fun, super random, but I wanted to show you all of this because I just thought it was so interesting. So Kim emailed me and showed me how to find historical pictures of my home. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Kim for showing me how to do that, because it answered so many questions that Jason and I had about this property. So we moved into this property about a year ago, August of last year, and we've been messing around with it and digging in it and doing all this stuff. And we have come up against the most interesting things. Like, we'll be digging a hole in the backyard, and then all of a sudden we found a patio of interlocking pavers. And it's like, what is there a patio doing here? I have an area back by my greenhouse that I am having trouble growing absolutely anything. My breath of heaven, my second breath of heaven plant is officially dead, and I have no idea why. And there's just a lot of things that was going on in this house that didn't really make sense. But now, seeing these photos, it definitely makes sense. So these photos are from 5 years ago, and it appears that there was a complete renovation since these photos were taken. And I don't think it was for the better. You'll see what I mean. So the first photo is of the front of our house. So you can see off to the left is the zigzag planter, and then there's this lattice fence in the zigzag planter, which I actually think is really pretty because it creates this kind of, I don't know, like patio area, like secluded patio area in the front garden. So seeing this and seeing the lattice and seeing this little barrier in my zigzag planter, it's making me think that I want to put something tall in that zigzag planter. And I kind of had the same feeling at the end of last year because I had purple fountain grasses that had grown to about 6 feet tall, and I loved it. And I think the reason why I loved it is because it gave this feel. So it was just really interesting to see this. The other thing is, on top of the zigzag planter, there was brick, which I actually think was really pretty. I don't know why they took off the brick that was there. I think it looks really great. And there's all these California, like succulent-y cactus type plants in there. I just think it actually was pretty. Now, I know that these are like realtor photos, and realtor photos make everything look gorgeous. But I don't know. I think it looks pretty good. So this next photo is from the front garden, and there's a couple things I want to bring your attention to. First off, if you look off to the left, you can see there is like a sea of rocks that they obviously put over the leach field, but that explains so much because when I was digging over there, there was a little bit of mulch, and then right under the mulch there was all these rocks, and I don't know why they didn't dig the rocks up. They just completely left them there. And those are not, so leach fields will have rocks underneath, right? As part of the leach field. These are just like ornamental rocks. These are just, what do you call it? Decorative rock, right? And so that just, I don't know, that explains a lot. And I still am at a complete loss as to why they would just cover all of that up with mulch, why the last people would do that. But if you can see in the front, there's a swoop there. There's another swoop there that was taken down. I don't know why that was taken down. And then if you look up closer to the house, you can see the lattice by the front, by the zigzag planter, but there's a little gate right there, which is so funny because that is where Michael Glassman has designed a gate, and we are planning to put a gate there eventually with a fence going off to the right as well. So I just thought that that was so funny, and it just kind of made sense. You know, it's not the most beautiful property. It doesn't have a lot of curb appeal, but it just kind of makes sense, makes things make sense. So this photo is from the front gate. It looks like it was taken right by the front gate, and you can see the swoop off to the left of the center island. I actually took that swoop down. That was one of the first things that we took out because it didn't make sense. It was just this one random stacked stone, or what do you call it, cement block swoop. But now that I see the other swoop on the other side of the island, I don't know, it makes a little bit more sense, I guess. So one thing I want to point out is that you can see there's all this cactus over here, and then I'll show you another photo of the orchard where there's tons of cactus. It's crazy to see it. Here we go, right here. So look at that. That's the orchard. That's the orchard garden right there. And I'd be scared to walk through there. There's so much cactus in there. My goodness, that's a lot of cactus. My goodness. Okay, here's the crazy thing, you guys. Look at the backyard. So my deck extended all the way out. Look at how far out it extended. Why they took this down, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that the deck must have been rotted or something. I don't know. I don't know why else they would have taken this beautiful deck away, because now that I see that, it just makes perfect sense for why there's a deck where there is. And I'm kind of bummed that they took it out and they didn't just replace it, because this makes a lot of sense to have that there. So I was actually showing Michael Glassman these pictures, and he is obsessed. He wants me to expand my deck out now. So put it on the list. Okay, so then this next photo is the craziest photo. So like I was saying, Jason and I have been complaining nonstop about all the stuff that has been in the backyard. We have so much trouble digging in the backyard. We can't dig down without hitting something. And this is why. So you can see this picture here explains why we can't dig anywhere without hitting anything. So for instance, you can see this interlocking stone paver pathway. We have been having major issues with that, especially up by the deck, which makes sense because there it is there. And then you can see there's more of that those pavers right over by my office. This where I am, the room that I'm in right now, which makes sense because Jason was having so much trouble digging the holes for the posts for the solar lights around the raised beds. And then you can see there's just kind of rocks all over the place. And then there's these poured concrete stepping stone pathway, which is so funny because every once in a while Jason and I will be digging and we'll hit concrete, and we'll just hit concrete, and we could not make any sense of it, of why we were hitting concrete. And it makes sense now because you see it, because they're just these little blocks every once in a while, not everywhere, but every once in a while, just little blocks. And it just makes a lot of sense now. I want to show you guys behind my office. There was a house. There was a little, I think it was a pump house or something, but you can see that whole area was blocked off, which I kind of like that being blocked off. And then some type of little portico in the back, but lots of rock pathways everywhere. I actually think it was kind of pretty. You know, it needed some TLC, but I do think it was kind of pretty. It just explains a lot. And I just wanted to show this to all of you. Oh, one more photo I wanted to show you guys. Here's what my office looked like 5 years ago. So that's the room I'm in right now. That's what the office looked like. So it looks like it was some type of bunk for kids or grandkids or something like that. I don't know. I just thought that was hilarious. So anyway, I just had to show you all these photos. A huge thank you to Kim for sending these to me or showing me how to find them, because it explains so much. It explains so much. I feel like I've been complaining on videos for so long about digging back here, and now I kind of get why, because there was so much hardscape in this backyard, and they just covered it up. Not the people who put not these people, the people who lived here last. So I kind of think they did a renovation, but they didn't do a very good job at it because they really just covered it with soil and mulch. And so now we're dealing with the consequences of that, which is fine. But at least now we have an answer as to, you know, why there's pavers here, why there's rock here, or why there's cement random places throughout the backyard. So now we can look at these photos and we can see why. So anyway, I just thought you guys would enjoy seeing that as much as I did. It explains a lot. I don't think it's going to change anything. I think it's just going to change our attitude when we're digging and we hit concrete. We'll know why now. I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope you all have a chance to get in your garden today.